I got a little cooked, but I'm okay.
All right, hello and welcome back to episode 5 of Unlimited Limited, the show where we talk about Star Wars Unlimited's limited formats like draft and sealed. I got to do my first Jump to Lightspeed draft this past week, and it was really fun. Yeah, I was looking forward to it. I think I mentioned in the last video that I was planning to do it, and no, I had a blast with it. It was awesome. So I figured today we could talk about my thoughts about the draft and what things I think I got right in my previous episodes, what things I think I got wrong in my previous episodes, some things that maybe I valued too highly or valued not high enough. Now, of course, elephant in the room, n equals 1 right now, right? I've done one draft, so anything I learned from that one draft could absolutely just be variance, but, it's a data point, and as I do more drafts, I'll continue to update here and talk about things that I learned from them. All right, so let's get into it. So first, let's talk about leaders. So the 3 leaders I ended up with were Luke Skywalker, Hero of Yavin, Rio Durant, Wisecracking Wheelman, and Lando Calrissian buying time. So a good spread. Rio deploys on 5, Luke deploys on 6, Lando deploys on 7. Rio is villainy, and both Lando and Luke are heroism. So I had a pretty good spread, and they're all 3 different aspects. So I was very happy with how that leader draft went. The guy sitting to my left, so who was passing to me in pack 2, got stuck with 3 villainy leaders. So I was pretty happy to have Luke, who I think is probably the strongest leader that you can pick up in limited in draft in this format. Also, I think Rio is quite good. The ability is fine, but yeah, just deploying on 5 and being a pretty sizable buff is nice. Cool. So I kind of had my eye on Luke as the one I wanted to build around the most here, and let's talk about my early picks. So on the left here is pack 1, pick 1. So you can see I have black 1 right at the front, and then I have War Juggernaut right behind it. Those are the 2 I was mostly considering. So you'll see in the back a Hyperfoil Fleet Interdictor as well. That I was also considering, but I did not bring to the front for this picture. Everything else, there were some fine cards in the pack, but there was nothing quite up to the level of those. So I was really kind of stuck between those 3. And I think I made the wrong choice. I'm not 100% sure. So I chose, I'll give you guys a second to figure out what you would pick. I chose black 1. The rare. And the reason for that was a few things. If you've been paying attention to the crack-a-packs at the end of the past few episodes, you'll know that I value not being in heroism or villainy pretty highly. So a card like War Juggernaut that's quite strong and also not heroism or villainy, you would think maybe I would be inclined to take. And that is true. That was a very strong reason for that. Now, I did have my eye on playing Luke, so I was thinking black 1 is very good with Luke. It's a fighter. It's in Luke's same aspects, which is nice early. And it's a 2-drop, which is very, very important. So between those 2, I was leaning towards black 1 just because of the leader draft. Now, why didn't I consider Fleet Interdictor? It turns out in hindsight, I should have taken that. Blue was quite open, and villainy was quite open, despite the man to my left being having 3 villainy leaders. So villainy and vigilance were quite open, but of course that doesn't matter in hindsight. That being said, even with the info I have right now, it might still have been correct to take Fleet Interdictor. I was just a little bit scared because the guy, again, to my left was all villainy. So I knew for sure that he was not going to be passing me very strong villainy cards, especially early on, whenever he was still not quite sure about his color. So I settled on black 1, and the tiebreaker for me between that and War Juggernaut was just that it was a 2-drop that synergized with Luke. And yeah, sure, it was kind of shoehorning me into playing that leader, but that was my pick. And then on this is pack 2, pick 1. So the 2 cards that I was really considering at that point, at this point I was kind of pretty cemented in the Luke deck. In a aggression heroism deck with the 3rd color, kind of a little bit not sure yet, either vigilance or cunning. So I think that Captain Tarkin is the stronger card, and oftentimes I would take him, especially in a deck that really wants to go crazy with fighters, because Captain Tarkin doesn't directly say fighters on him, but it does work pretty well with fighters. But I think at that point 0 removal. That was in aspect. I had a couple of vigilance removal cards, but I wasn't sure if I was playing vigilance yet. So I think I took piercing shot, and that isn't. I think I'm still in hindsight happy with that decision. Although it was kind of sad to pass Captain Tarkin, who I think is very strong. And then I forgot to take a picture of pack 3. I don't actually remember what my pick 1 was from that, unfortunately. So here's the deck. I ended up in Luke Cunning, and I was pretty happy with how it came together. It was a little tough because, as you can kind of see from my sideboard, I got exactly 30 cards that are on aspect. Exactly. So the deck built itself immediately. And then I made a swap. As you can see here, there's a direct hit in here. I took out It's a Trap. I built the deck with It's a Trap first, and then I thought, you know what, I think direct hit's better. And then also, the players I was playing as were very strong, in my opinion. And I thought that it would maybe be a bit of a surprise if I was able to pull out an off-color or off-aspect card. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the list. So Dagger Squadron Pilot was filler. I wasn't excited about that really in any way. The turn 1 play of Republic Y-Wing Dagger Squadron was something I was like thinking about, but that never happened. Republic Y-Wing, it's a fighter. It's good enough. Again, fighter synergizes quite well with Luke here. System Shock, I resourced every time. I think there was one time where I thought, oh, if I draw System Shock right now, that'll be handy, but really that did not come up much. Anakin was a fine 2. He was okay as a pilot. He was okay as a unit. Yeah, nothing too exciting there. Black One was strong for sure. It wasn't crazy strong, but it it got working. It being a fighter was very handy. Putting Luke on it was, of course, quite strong. But yeah, I didn't have any Poe, so this just never happened. It was just a 2-3 fighter that was sometimes a 3-3 fighter for 2, and that was good enough in this deck. Again, it wasn't amazing. For a pack 1, pick 1, you often want it to be like a very strong card, one of your strongest, and this really was not one of my strongest cards, but it was fine. Hopeful Volunteer was okay. Again, nothing really, you kind of figured this one out by now. It's filler, but it's okay. Red Squadron Y-Wing was actually pretty good. Again, it being a fighter helped a lot. So they would pay. I actually had it once or twice where my opponents misplayed because of this card. And it's a low 6 draft, so I offered to take it back. I don't think they did, though. They were very honorable. But I would attack with this. They would distribute indirect damage in ways that like it would leave a couple of their units alive with 1 life. And then I would tap Luke and go, okay, I'm going to deal 1 to that. But, even if they were playing optimally and, keeping account for that, just all this ping damage going everywhere. And then again with Luke. And then it's also, it's a fighter so when you put Luke on it, it's quite strong. Yeah, very good. Storming Vulture Droid, I have 1 copy of this. So it is literally just a 2-cost 2/2 in space, but it is a fighter. So that's why it's here. X-34 Landspeeder was okay. I don't think I've had enough experience to denounce this card. And it's obviously not bad. But I think this is a little bit weaker than it would be in a previous set. I'm not exactly sure why, but Ground Ambush in particular has not felt super strong. So I'll keep you guys posted about that going forward, but I'll still take this card. And again, it's not a bad card by any means, but it wasn't the insane banger that I expected it to be every time. That being said, again, it's not bad for sure, but yeah, a little bit more needed there. Blade Squadron B-Wing, it's a 3-cost 3/3 fighter. Good enough. This never happened. I never really expected it to happen. You should also not really expect it to happen unless your opponent is in a token deck. If there was a way, obviously my sideboard didn't get there, but if you're in a deck and you can afford to put this in your sideboard, siding it in against a token deck might be good. But then a shield token is less valuable against token decks anyway, right? Because they'll have a lot of TIE fighters to run into. So yeah, I don't know. It's a 3-cost 3/3 fighter. That was good enough for my purposes. Death Space Skirmisher. Now, this card was awesome. If I had the initiative, I could just completely ruin my opponent's turns really easily. Because, I would play a space unit, they would play a space unit, I get initiative, they would pass. Next turn, first action, I throw this down, tap their space unit. That's such ridiculous tempo. Yeah, card was very strong, and it's a fighter. So yeah, this was my preferred, which is, again, it has a harder aspect cost, so I would expect this card to be stronger, and maybe it is in a vacuum, although I don't think so. But yeah, this card was the one I wanted to see in my opening hand. Dilapidated Ski Speeder. I don't think I played this card 1 time, but it's fine. Droid Missile Platform, not a fighter, and that came up a lot, unfortunately. So there were many times where I attacked with this, and then I was like, oh, I wish I could tap Luke right now. But yeah, it's fine. This, on the other hand, is a fighter and a ground unit. I tried to play this unit in the space arena once, and my opponent was like, that's a ground unit. It's like, yep, you are correct. No, yeah, it's a good card. 3-cost 3/3. fighter. That's what you want in this deck. And then sometimes it gets to do a little bit of extra value. I think that came up like once, but honestly, just like the stats and the fact that it's a fighter, happy camper. I put Luke on this once or twice, and it was very, very good. Piercing shot, great removal as I expected. The sweep the area was also very strong. Just tempo. It just felt like Waylay a lot of the time. I think there was one time where I really wish I could have used it, but the unit was 4. One game I'll talk about in a little bit. My opponent used the starship thief guy that like steals my starship, and he put it on a 4-drop, and I had this in my hand, and I was like, that would be so good. I get to do that. Like, we'll go back to my hand. Incredible. But yeah, unfortunately, that did not work out for me, but I still think this card is good. Hunting Aggressor was fine. I didn't really get there in indirect damage, as you can see so far, so it was like, okay. But a 4-cost 3/6 is a good stat, good statted body. Granted, not a fighter, which did come up. Kimoyila Heavy Fighter is a fighter. It's even in the name. And yeah, no, again, it's 4-cost 3/4 fighter. Puts a little bit of indirect damage around. Again, the exhaust thing, like I predicted last time, basically never comes up. They just put it all on their base or exhausted units, but still strong. Orbiting K-Wing was my favorite thing to put Luke on because it would make it a 4/9, right? Yeah, not a 4/9, an 8/9 with Saboteur. So even if they had a big Space Sentinel, which we'll talk about in a little bit, my opponents pretty often did, it was able to just completely close out the game, and it was just so filthy. Yeah, no, definitely strong. It's a fighter. Even if you don't pilot it, it's still a fighter that's well statted, and then you get like the Luke pings too. It's awesome. Dedicated Wingman, it was good. It wasn't amazing, but it pretty much guaranteed that I could put Luke on something if I absolutely needed to. This was never what I wanted. Oh, excuse me. This is never what I wanted to put Luke on, but if I needed to, it worked out. Direct Hit's a fun one. This card, I, of course, had to pay 6 for, but every time I did, it was incredible. Yeah, I was a little bit shaky about splashing this originally, but after doing it, I will be doing this in the future. Any deck that I'm in, during the draft process, and I almost don't want to tell you guys this, because this is like, I think a strat that not a lot of people are doing, and because I've, drafted this game a decent amount in previous sets, and no one really did this, and yeah, but I will, because I love you guys. But if I'm at the draft table and I'm not in like blue, and I get past a pack with this, and it's like a pretty weak pack for my other aspects, I'm just taking this and it's going into the main board. I would have run like 2 or even 3 of these. Like, this was a very, very, very strong effect. I almost put in out the airlock too, which I did get, but yeah, I think that maybe the 7 would have been a little bit too much, and then it's not even like for sure removal if they have like a bigger thing. But anyway, this on the other hand can hit leaders, so that's a bit of a trade. But I like to control the board before they get a leader down ideally, so this worked better for my purposes. But anyway, very strong card, very underrated to splash these things. I think that you should oftentimes. Black Squadron Scout Wing. The dream, of course, was that you play this on 5 resource and then flip Luke on 6 and get an immediate. But of course, I don't think I ever got to do that. I tried to a couple times, but my opponents, of course, were very good players, and they would like read that card and then they would read Luke and go, okay, well, my highest priority is to kill this, and they would often do so. And fair enough. I can't blame them for that. I would have done the same thing. But yeah, very strong combo if you can like. It's a little bit win more, of course, but if you're able to play this into a space arena that they can't immediately deal with it and then flip leader next turn, you're looking good. Mandalorian is my other like out of aspect card. I didn't have double cunning, but I played this as a upgrade and a unit, I think 50-50. It was great as both. It was better as the unit, of course, and getting to 7 in a limited game is not like the end of the world. It's like pretty reasonable. That's usually when the game's going to be closing up, but you can like very easily flip that clock in your favor. This actually won me one of my games. My opponents had 2 ground units, or my opponent had 2 ground units and like a space unit. And they, had initiative. So I was like, oh no, they're going to just like go into base and go for it. Because nobody's playing around this card, right? But so they actually just only attacked with their space unit first. And I was like, oh, perfect. And I slammed this, tapped down their ground units, and they read the card and they were like, oh. I was like, yeah, I paid 7 for it. But yeah, no, definitely very strong. And I ended up winning the game because of that. Now, of course, that's kind of the dream scenario. But even if you can't expect to play it for 7 for some reason, like just playing it as a pilot, like it's like a pretty good pilot ability. It's a little bit low on the toughness side, but that's okay. Definitely a solid card. Corporate Light Cruiser was good. There were a couple moments where I needed 6 and it only hits for 5. It's also not a fighter, unfortunately. But that's, it is what it is. Still fine. It's like a good big space ambusher. It'll deal with one of their threats basically all of the time. Oh, Black Squadron Scout Wing, by the way, is a fighter. So whenever you flip Luke onto that, beater. Unfortunately, I never got to do it, but it was kind of awesome. Insurgent Saboteurs, I said I thought this card was awesome and going to be super underrated, and I think I was right. Every time I played this card, my opponents were scared by it. There was at one point in the game where my opponents had one out, and then I also played one, and it was like, okay, well, no upgrades to this game anymore. But yeah, no, cool card, big fan. Rebellious Hammerhead, I played this card one time, and I used it to kill a TIE fighter because I think I had like one card in my hand. It was fine. I mean, I would play this card again for sure. Just I can't really give a proper review of it because I only played it once, I think. But it's a good card. Yeah, I'm still into playing this card more. And then the Tantive 4 is quite strong. Again, as you would expect. Just being able to stem the bleeding for like one extra turn whenever you get to like the 7 resource turn is really strong and can often swing base math in your favor if you guys were racing. So definitely keep an eye out for this. Just being a big sentinel body that'll probably eat 2 of your opponent's threats at that point, or not eat, but trade for. I'm into that. Sideboard wise, there's, as you can kind of see here, not really much to talk about. I had an Out the Airlock that I considered playing. Same with It's a Trap, but I really don't think that either of these would be amazing here. It's a Trap I really thought about, and I originally had it in the deck and then swapped it for direct hit, but yeah. Anyway, that's the deck. Let's talk now about the matchups. So my first opponent was playing Lando Red. Now Luke has a very good matchup into Lando. Because Lando makes shields and Luke pings for 1. So you can kind of imagine how that went. I was able to control the board oftentimes also pretty well. Lando flips on 7, so I was usually able to like make sure, especially because I flip a turn earlier with Luke. So when I attack with Luke, I usually am killing 2 of my opponent's things, right? 1 with the 3 damage on his attack, and then 1 with the attack itself. So it was usually pretty easy for me to control the board on his flip turn. And even if I couldn't, getting out a turn earlier was very, very handy. I ended up going 2-0 in our match. Again, player was very good, but I think Luke against Lando is a very strong match for Luke. Next, my match was against Luke Yellow, actually. It was a mirror match. This one was cool. There was one point where I almost lost because my opponent was doing a lot of direct damage. They had, I think, 4 of, what's it called? Like, not Bombing Run. It's 3 cost. It's a cunning card that deals 5 indirect damage to a player. So my opponent had 2 or 3 of those, and so I was taking a lot of indirect damage. And there was a point where I had my big ship that was piloted by Luke, and I think it had like 10 health or something, and my opponent did one of those, and I decided to put 2 on Luke. And then my opponent ambushes out the like 7-9 or 7-8 big ship that costs less if you have a bunch of space units, which I did at the time. And my opponent's like, oh man, that was crazy. How did you know that I was like gonna deal 7 out of hand, so you knew to leave Luke with 8 health? And I looked at him and I was like, you think I was playing around that? I think I was playing around something, but I don't remember what it was. No, I got very lucky there. But anyway, it was a cool game. It was a fun matchup. My opponent did have to flip Luke as a unit a couple of times, and that never went very well. You pretty much, like I said earlier, always want to flip him as an upgrade. But the match was cool. The mirror match was cool. This was the one where I slammed the Mandalorian and tapped down his ground board that allowed me to win that second game. But yeah, the game was super fun. I think I ended up 2-0ing again against that one. But super cool game. And then my last match was against Rio Duran. If you've been paying attention, these 3 leaders are the 3 leaders that I pulled. And I didn't notice that until I was editing this PowerPoint. I was like, wait a second, that's crazy. The 3 leaders I played against were the 3 leaders that I had the option of playing. It's like poetry, man. It rhymes. That's crazy. All right, so my third match was against Rio Green. And this match was very tricky because for the first time of the night, I was playing against a leader that deployed before my leader. And that mattered a lot. The first game in our best of 3, I was able to sort of get so much value with Luke, just pinging down all of his units, I think I had Luke piloted on the Y-wing that game, and which I had out for a few turns, so I just done so much indirect damage. It was very tricky for my opponent to come back from that. Second game, it was kind of the opposite. My opponent was able to control my board and my flip turn, which, by the way, was made he was given a very clear path for doing so because of Rio's earlier flip turn. The fact that he could get this out and use it to take out whatever my biggest unit was without too much of an issue, or just keep the board controlled so that my flip turn of Luke was worse, which did happen in our second game. My opponent ended up winning it, and it was it was a very good game. The Rio flipping a turn early, I think, is what did it. And then in game 3, I was getting a lot of value with Luke again early, and I had built my space board pretty well. And then my opponent plays that Starship Thief on one of my 4 drops, and he steals it. And that was good enough. And then he flipped Rio onto another unit. And I just couldn't come back from that. That was my space unit that I was going to be flipping Luke onto. Or I think I had 2, and he stole 1 and then killed the other. And I was, I completely just, it was a close game. No, yeah, he got me that match. So I ended up losing that one. So 1-2 for that one, making me 2-1 for the night. So it was a super fun draft, and I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye a little bit more on the leaders that flip earlier. Now, that being said, I do still think that Luke is probably the strongest leader. There's an argument for Boba Fett, but I don't actually know if Boba Fett shows up in the regular booster packs or if that was just a pre-release leader. Maybe he shows up in like Showcase or something only, so you'll see a Boba Fett once in less than a blue moon. But nevertheless, yeah, I think that I'm going to be valuing leaders that flip on 5 like quite aggressively going forward, unless I get something like really good like Luke. And then of course the Starship Thief that I think in my set review, I don't remember what I gave him in my set review, but I'll check at the end of the set and give my retrospective thoughts. But definitely I did not rank him high enough, I can tell you that. That card that steals is so strong. And I kind of knew it was going to be in my heart because there's a card in Magic the Gathering called Agent of Treachery. And when it was in a draft set, which I think was M19 or M20, it was a core set, it was, everyone thought, or not everyone, I thought it was not going to be that good because I was pretty new-ish to draft back then. And then it came out and ended up being one of the strongest cards in draft and even like constructed playable. But and I was like, oh, okay, so effects that steal your opponent's stuff are very good. And then when I saw it here, I was like, okay, yeah, sure, but, and I like had a bunch of excuses for why it wouldn't be that good. But really, at the end of the day, ultimately, you're stealing one of your opponent's units, and that's just so strong. Definitely, I should have gone with my gut on that one, but I'll take the L. I guess general thought that I had about this draft process was that I found that my opponents, and I kind of expected this, again, all my opponents were very strong players, I think. I think that my opponents had valued space units very highly. So had I, but I was kind of expecting to like be secretly like, haha, I'm going to evaluate space units highly and my opponents aren't. And then I'm going to make use of those sort of, better space units this set and run away with the game. And they're going to be kind of stuck on the ground like a couple turns behind me. And that ended up not happening. My opponents did actually draft space units like very highly. They had just as many space units as I did. So I think that whenever you take this to your local game store to play some drafts, expect your opponents expect to not be able to run over your opponents just in the space arena. Do the basics. Take removal, take synergy. but don't expect to just be able to cheese your way to a win in space like you may have been able to in another set, depending on how the decks would have been built. All right, and as usual, we're going to end tonight with a couple of Crack-A-Packs. I think I have a couple of packs left from the pre-release, so I'm going to go grab those now, and we'll get into it. All right, welcome back, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so that I can write pre-releases off as a business expense. Okay, who's our leader today? Is it Akbar? It's not Akbar, it's Lando, a rare leader. Lando Blue. All right, so punch it. This card is actually pretty strong. So it's got it's kind of got Tarkin Town text on it where you can deal 2 to a, I guess Tarkin Town is 3, but a damaged unit. That is good to finish off a unit, but definitely not something we want to first pick. 3 cost 2/4 Sentinel, kind of same idea. And then also this one is in multiple colors, or multiple aspects. Resistance X-Wing, kind of the same idea. Veteran Fleet Officer, definitely the same idea. Shoot Down is the pick right now, of course. We love removal, especially cheap, efficient removal like this. This only hits space units, but in this set, that's fine. Fleet Interdictor, I learned my lesson passing this once. Let's consider that one as well. M30 Assault Frigate, I actually like a lot. It's not first pickable, maybe in a really weak pack, but it is a good card, and it's very versatile. It can fit in a lot of decks, and then also, literally, it doesn't have the heroism or villainy aspect. This card's just full of filler. I don't know where you would play this. Dogfight, I actually, someone did play this against me in the draft this past week. It ended up being okay. My Rio opponent in match 3, but not first pickable. Red 5 is like the one earlier, but better. It has better stats, and it has a repeatable effect. Now, it is on attack instead of when played, which definitely changes the calculus a little bit, but it's still very strong. I don't think it's quite as strong as our previous picks, but you know what? I will put it back here. It's quite strong. Hera is pretty much the best 2-cost card in this color. Hera is very strong. I'll put her back here as well. And Commandeer. Oh no, have I learned my lesson about stealing cards or not? So, Commandeer is very good as a finisher, but in draft this is a little bit weaker in my opinion than the Starship Thief, because they get it back. So you do get a nice attack with it, but they do get it back. Now obviously they have to play it again, so it has kind of a built-in waylay, but no, this card is very strong. Don't get it twisted. It might be first pickable. I don't know. We'll put it back here. This is a strong pack. Oh, and we've got Corporate Defense Shuttle, a foil rare. 2 cost 3/5. This unit can't attack. Never play this card ever. Thank you. Maybe in a goofy constructed list with Kaz or something. All right, we have a lot of options here. Wow, do we have a lot of options. Now, as always, this is leader dependent. So if you have, a leader that you're interested in building that you think is strong, you look around the table and you kind of see who's in what and make predictions based on whether you're going to be in heroism or villainy from that. That can help you narrow this down. I think that I'm probably taking out Fleet Interdictor and Red 5 here. And then between these 3, this is really tough. It's super leader dependent at this point. In a complete vacuum, I am a big fan of Commandeer. And the reason for that is because the line where you take your opponent's vehicle and then attack it into one of your opponent's vehicles and ideally kill both of them. Because what that's done, really, sure, you're probably going to lose the initiative because you've just taken a lot of actions. But what that's probably going to do is it's probably going to 2-for-1 your opponent, in the truest sense. You play this, and you take one of your opponent's things, and then you kill both of them. Again, you're losing kind of in the action economy there, but that is such a strong line, and I think that it is worth doing. If you don't like Commandeer, it's probably Shoot Down, but I do also love Hera and Red 5 and Fleet Interdictor. Very strong pack. All right, let's do one more. So the R2-D2 pack. Whoa. Rose Tico. Rose is a strong leader, I think, that I haven't had a chance to play yet. Now, I thought she was going to be especially strong. Her ability seems very good. And I think I've come down on her a bit just because she doesn't have piloting. And I think that's very important in Limited. But nevertheless, I still want to try her out. And our base is the Shield Generator Complex. Another blue base. Cool. All right. Guerrilla Soldier. Strong card, I think. But yeah, not really first pickable. Attack Run. Not really first pickable. Starhopper. Good, but not really first pickable. Dedicated Wingman. Also good. Not a card you want to pick first. Stormtrooper has gotten a lot of work for me. This was an all-star at the pre-release, but my leader was Boba, and I think this card is the best in Boba decks, so you probably won't see that quite as much now. This card, I'm trying to brew this card with Thrawn. Man, what a fun deck. This card, I think, is very good. Yeah, this card is very strong. Definitely consider first picking. It's, of course, the double aspect, so maybe not, but we'll see. We all love a good prototyped TIE Advance. Onyx Squadron Brute, also quite strong. This card is pretty good. The piloting one is really nice. That will come up sometimes if you've built your deck in a certain way. Leia is one of the strongest cards as well in this sort of color combination. So Champs and Duel is a fun one. This one played literally does not matter in Limited for like 99% of cases. It's a 4-cost 5/4. That's good stats for the cost. And, a legendary. Hey, we like that one. Oh, nice. I'm going to have to get a penny sleeve out for the Devastator. Very cool. All right. Oh, and another foil rare. Oh, whoa. This was a good pack. Holy, like a good pack for Constructed. All right. And, these are both good Limited cards, too. Yeah, wow. That's, I think, the last pack I currently have on me. So, save the best for last, I'll say. All right, so let's talk about our options. So, of course, as always, leader dependent. Now, one thing that I like to note, again, looking around the table, the fact that there's two cards here that are in the exact same, Command Heroism can both help you and backfire pretty tremendously, especially because they're both strong. So, if you look around and you think that people probably aren't going to be playing Heroism Command, which you don't really have any way of knowing for sure, but you can suss out a couple of soft signals for that. If you pick one of these up and then manage to wheel the other, that is to say the pack goes all the way on the table and no one takes the other and you get to take the other, you feel great. Because obviously if you can get both of these cards, that's better than any other option, right? But that also can backfire because let's say that someone passes you this card in a vacuum. You're sitting down to draft and the guy next to you opens some packs. You take a card out of the first pack, it doesn't matter what, and he passes you a pack with this card in it. And you're like, whoa, this card's so strong. And that means my opponent or the guy to the left of me is not in Command Heroism because if he was, he would not have taken this card. He would have taken this card. But then, what if he just took Leia, right? And now you're getting bad signals, and then in pack 2 you'll be passing back to him, so it can definitely backfire for you if you take this card and then someone else sees that signals are open and they take Leia and they try to do a Command Heroism deck. So yeah, it can work both ways, so be really careful about that. Now let's talk about these guys. So no glory, only results. Obviously, I love removal. I do. It's so good. And then this is pretty much like one of the better removal cards that you can get too, right? Not only does it like remove anything, but getting a little bit of extra value off of when defeated triggers, that's pretty nice. Now that won't always happen. And if you're ever spending just 5 resources to remove something, you feel pretty good about that, right? Like I was spending 6 resources to remove something and I felt good about that in my draft. So spending 5, pretty nice. Now, of course, this one has the downside of being in villainy. Do you still play this card if you're in heroism? Depends on your deck. I don't think the answer to that is always no, but the answer to that's probably also not always yes. 7 is a lot, but definitely consider first picking this. Now, Devastator. So I just want to be completely honest with you. If I was given this pack at a regular draft, I would be taking Devastator, and because the reason is, you don't always get to build around a sick legendary like this in draft. The fact that whenever this comes down, it deals 4 however you want, and then if you've built your deck around, this is your pack 1, pick 1, you have the whole time to build around indirect damage, and you can kind of force it a little bit. And if you do that, then this card just, of course, becomes insane. Now, it probably wins the game on its own, barring any sort of weird indirect damage stuff, because it comes down, it deals with something, and then it's attacking for 9 every turn. Like, that's pretty good. So, this is probably my actual pick in real life. Now, what is my, like, correct pick? It's probably not Blue Resistance Squadron, but it's probably... Could still be Devastator. This is a tough one. I want to do a little bit more testing before making any strong claims here. This is a good problem to have whenever you have to choose between like 3 really strong cards. This is a good problem to have. Yeah, so my thought process for each of them really is that no glory only results, of course. You can control the board before your opponent flips their leader, which is great. Devastator is just an insane finisher and a great build around. And then Leia is something you can play early that action cheats and manages your base life. Definitely all amazing options. I think I have to say that I'm just taking Devastator because I think that it would be really awesome to try to get that working. But this is a cool pack, and definitely wouldn't fault you for taking any of those. Or even Resistance Blue Squadron, I think, is strong. I wouldn't fault anyone for taking any of those 4, honestly. That is all for today. Make sure if you want to see more of me yapping about this game's limited formats, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, I'm curious if you've had any draft insights or draft experiences in this set. I would love to learn from them, genuinely. That's not just engagement bait. Like, I actually want to know what you've found good and not, so that I can win more draft games. It's selfish. Awesome. Have a great day, and as always, may the Force be with you.
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
A certain point of view?